MedBrciks Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming. Welcome to the MedBrciks Webcast. This is Ramana Annamaraju. I'm the host, So we have an exciting program today. So actually, I'm going to interview a doctor from Divondale, Michigan. I don't know where the really Divondale is. Maybe the coldest. I'm from Silicon Valley. That must be the coldest spot on the planet. So I'm going to ask him where that Divondale, Michigan is. I'm going to interview a doctor from Divondale. And then I went to the Wayne State Medical School, where I have a lot of friends came from Wayne State Medical School. Something good about that snow in Michigan. We're getting excellent doctors up there. I have a lot of interaction with several physicians. One of the physicians is Sanjay Gupta. He's not from Wayne State, and his friend Sandhya is a radiologist. I dealt with him. So they're all from Wayne State. I have a lot of friends from Wayne State. Throughout my life, though I interacted. I'm not a doctor, so I interacted with them I used to own imaging center, so I used to interact a lot of physicians from the Wayne State. So there must be something great about that snow. So after that, I'm going to present a topic on a very interesting law in physics that affects the healthcare, affects them personally, it affects our lives. Our disease, death, everything it affects. It's a very strange. We don't notice it, but it's around us. This is a physical. It is a concept. It's not a concept. It is an actually physics of it is an actual there. It is a present, but you don't notice it. It's like a ghost almost. I'm going to talk about that. That's interesting. After that, So this is a very interesting topic. Another thing is today I'm going to join by my co-host. Her name is Victoria Fishnick. And she is joining from, I think, Atlanta, my hometown. But I'm in Silicon Valley now, so I'm going to bring both of them. But let me bring Dr. Todd first and ask him his background. Welcome, Dr. Todd Otten.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tell us, did I say that? Where is the Divondale?
Very good. Yeah. Divondale here's my, self-made Michigan map. Divondale is kind of right in the center near the capital, Lansing. And I suppose Wayne State produces good physicians because it's too cold to do anything else but study.
Yeah, that's absolutely. That's a good point. I used to go to RSNA. That they used to say the reason they put in the December because they can't do anywhere else, and so they have to stuck there. So tell us a little bit about your background, Dr. Otten. I gave one thing I want to say about you is that I forgot. This is a very important, is close to my heart. Thank you for your service. You're a flight surgeon in the United States Navy. Can you tell us your background besides being around the doctor, where you started it? Are you from Michigan? And then personal background a little bit.
Absolutely. So I'm a husband, father of four, very proud dad. I have a lot of interests and hobbies. I like to ski because it's cold here. Play golf in the summer, soccer. I actually do some antiquing, a little bit of picking, do some investment things with my friends, and so a wide variety of interests that keep me busy aside from family and faith. Professionally, as you said, I went to Wayne State for medical school. From there, I trained in the Navy, a year of general surgery, and then I was a flight surgeon. And flight surgeon's an interesting misnomer, if you will. Really, you're the primary care physician for a squadron, taking care of the pilots, the navigators, air crew, what have you. In fact, I pulled over a model here of a P3, so I was in VP10 when I was in the Navy. So to scale
Beautiful
model there. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I joke at times it was like being a doctor in a fraternity, for better or for worse. But from there, I came back to Michigan, finished my residency in family medicine, and then trained in my most recent job where I was at for the better part of 13 years. during that time, I was chief of staff. I was an ACO medical director for 6 years, quality chair at times, all sorts of other leadership positions, which when you're trying to save the world, I suppose, that can precipitate burnout, which I unfortunately had to endure in 2019. Thankfully, came out on the other side, and was in a wonderful office that in the book I dub the office Utopia. Um, and it was just magical. I worked with three wonderful nurse practitioners. Um, Unfortunately, the stars didn't align, and the administration made some decisions which I didn't agree with. So at the end of last year, I stepped away, which allowed me to finish editing, writing, finishing the book we published in May. And since then, it's been a whirlwind of networking, working on the book, the business associated with it. But really, what really fills up my cup rather is advocacy. I feel we're in a space where we just need really some strong leaders to try and turn the healthcare ship around. So that
Well, you said that he had a problem with the administrators. What is that individual problem? Is it, you think, is a systemic problem across the entire healthcare system?
it probably depends on where you're at, really. I've been in some situations where it's beautiful, the relationship between the administration and the clinicians, and when that happens, it's magical. Wonderful things occur. Patients thrive, providers thrive. And typically when that's going on, the institutions do well financially. The part of the issue, and actually this probably goes back to some of the issues with healthcare in general, is where are the incentives, though? Who's driving the bus? Who's pulling the strings, if you will? And when the incentives are not in line, it can just create an absolute mess. And unfortunately, I think that's much more the commonplace than the magical music that I speak of.
From the patient point of view, American healthcare system is a paradox. More spending is done, more the less the care they're getting. What is this paradox? You also talk about a little bit about paradox of the system. What do you think of that? What went wrong? What do you think further? Not only some administrative level, what is the systemic level? Is there any something went wrong with the system? You think?
Yeah, I talked to a CEO when I was writing the book, probably about 6 months ago, and he asked the question, "What's wrong in our healthcare system?" And I chuckled a little bit, and I said it might be easier. That list is pretty long. It might be a lot shorter if you ask what's going well. But I think in prepping for this, there were three things that I wrote down that really came to the forefront. And I probably could have had a list of 100 things that have contributed to the current dysfunction in terms of our excessive GDP expenditure and our poor outcomes and life life expectancy going down. I talked about misaligned incentives as being one. I think silos are a major issue in healthcare. And for those not familiar, just envision the silo on a farm where they store grain or what have you, and it's standing there alone, not connected with anything else. So when you think of silos in healthcare, that's truly problematic. I would see patients for a hospital follow up, literally from an institution across the street, and would have no information to review. Can you imagine? Literally, the building is like a mile away, and I had nothing to look at, and the patient didn't know why they were there. I mean, that turns into a complete mess, and so that's part of it. But then you add factors in like we've got every middle person under the sun between the patient and the provider or the doctor, and the amount of greed and fraud and waste and abuse that occurs along that continuum definitely contributes to the complete paradox that you speak of, with ridiculous expenditures and not the best outcomes at times.
In this totem pole, patient is in the bottom. Already in this totem pole of the silo structures, the patient comes in the bottom of the totem pole. Is the bottom. The reason is, I think you mentioned very eloquently about the silo structure. I completely agree with you. Actually, my company MedBrciks is based on that silo, dismantling the silo structures. Is a distribute, democratize, and and then it decentralize the system. That is a you. We have to no other option other than starting with the dismantling the silo structures. You made an excellent point. That is the major hurdling, the major block in the healthcare system progress, in my view. And you, thank you that you're agreeing with that process. So you think that changing the system, one of the system that, what is the system is causing the lot of problems, including physical and mental health. We know during the pandemic we saw across the world the healthcare system created a huge mental health stress on people. I spoke with doctors around the world. Everyone is complaining about it. The frontline, not only doctors, nurses. What do you think this? What is the connection between the stress and the mental health happen?
It's a wonderful question, and we could probably talk about that for hours, if not
Mhm.
days. I think the reality of it is there's as a primary care physician, it's not just about seeing the patient and practicing medicine. You've got all these other entities that are dictating how you do things, whether that's administration, whether that's the insurance, whether that's the pharmaceutical company, whether it's a family member. So you've got all these tethers, if you will, tugging at you in different directions. And the reality is, you just want to provide the best care possible for the human beings sitting in front of you. And when you put all these barriers out there, it becomes this wicked problem almost of you can't do what you want to do because you've got to satisfy all these other criteria, and that has perpetuated this entity called moral injury, where we're trying to do what's right, but you've got these competing forces that are detracting from it. I can think of an example along this of a patient who unfortunately has passed. I came to know her probably a year before I left, and she had a history of breast cancer, and she had really worsening pain in several joints, hip, back, I think one of her humerus, one of her arms, to put it in layman's terms. Um, and she had seen 3 specialists before she had seen me, 3 within
Oh
a
my God.
probably a 4-month time frame. Not one imaging study was done. And of course, I ordered some x-rays. She had metastatic lesions all over her body, and it broke my heart. Because the poor woman, her only complaint was pain, and she really just wanted to be listened to. Um, and those stories happened again and again and again. And you think about the time pressures and the financial pressures and all these other things that I speak of. It's chaos at times, and it's so far from what we should be doing. And so you can see how that can contribute to mental stress and burnout and people wanting to leave, the industry.
My father is a teacher and a village doctor. He is providing a small remote village in India, a southern village. He's a medical doctor. He goes there and he was a doctor. That's the only doctor there. He actually literally in that small village. So he was providing a care. He explains them, and it's a very straightforward. It is you give right there, as you said. There's no silo structures. It's a diagnosing, treatment, and prognosis right all up there in the same place. So I think we missed that part, and the patients are missing it. And then you see the stress on the patients. Nobody is happy. The patients are not happy. The doctors are not happy. So what is this? What organizations need to do, or individuals like people like us, or I'm going to bring the Victoria Fishnick. Maybe she can answer some of the question. My co-host Victoria Fishnick, come down and see that Victoria, just to let me bring all of you on three. Yeah, that. Yeah, let me do that. Just 1 second. You give me that. Sorry, that what happened. Yeah. Okay. So, Victoria, you
There we
have any
go.
one or two
Hello.
questions for a doctor? That is a Victoria Fishnick. She's a wound care specialist. She's not a doctor. She's like me, spending a lot of time in healthcare. So, Victoria, what do you think went wrong? I'm asking the question of Dr. Otten about the what is organization level. This mental health is a big problem in the frontline healthcare workers, and then what the organizations can do, what the individuals can do. So, what is your experience? You can ask that question in a
Mhm.
different twist, Victoria.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a nurse practitioner, so I get what he feels about it. I do think it's unfortunate that these silos of bureaucracy are created because then you end up losing good providers out of the system, like Dr. Otten. And so you're losing some valuable people that are really trying to do good work. So that's the unfortunate thing of having all these tentacles that are somewhat contributing to this silo effect of how you practice medicine. So it's like you talked about. There's so many components of telling you how to practice when you're being told how to practice really from people that don't practice. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating that you fall into these.
Yes.
I'm going
Yes,
to ask you a
Yeah,
question, Dr.
it can be
Todd.
extremely frustrating. That's
yes,
that's
yes.
an understatement for sure. Um,
Yeah.
but I think, one of the things we talk about in the book, I was an early adopter of what was called the quadruple aim. And we elevated it to what we call our quadruple aim. And the reason we put Joshua and I put the word our in front of it, we feel like if everybody plays their little part in trying to improve our current healthcare landscape, that these little ripples can make a dramatic change, and hopefully waves, if not a tsunami of change. And so our quadruple aim, as we describe it, is patient experience, quality care, lower costs, and provider wellness. And I know some people have some issues with the word provider, but we wanted to use a word that really encompassed everybody that was delivering some capacity of a patient's journey through the healthcare system from start to finish, whether it's janitor, administration, a dietary, everyone. And so that's why we stuck with that word. But the reality is, I've had the opportunity or the blessing to experience this at the office level, at the critical access hospital level, as well as the ACO level. And when decisions are made using that lens, it's magical. And the reality is, when your patients are happy and getting good care, they tend to want to come back and tend to want to be patients for life. And so you don't really have to spend a lot of money on marketing and all these other things because you've got your built-in customer base. So I'm a big fan of the quadruple aim, or our quadruple aim, which is really akin to the quintuple aim. So there's that health equity component in there as well. And I think when you use that purview, all the stakeholders tend to win. Um,
So what inspired you to? If I ask you some personal question, if you don't mind. So you said that mental health is the bigger central part of this writing a book for you. Or did you go through that pressure of a mental struggle, and then you inspired you to write a book? What inspired you to write a book? If you don't mind asking you that question.
oh, for sure. I've got to be careful when I talk about my own experience of burnout, because I often start to tear up because it's painful. It's raw. It is not fun. You are angry, you are frustrated. The job I love became a dread. I hated going to work, and I love seeing patients. I've always loved seeing patients. Um, and the real sad part of that is the negative ripple effects from the physician or the clinician or the nurse practitioner. It doesn't just affect that individual, it affects everybody that's patients and staff, and it's a mess. And so that was a big motivating factor for me. I started writing about 2 years after I had gone through burnout, and wrote a pretty dark poem called Medicine is a World of Gray, kind of explaining that it's not this dichotomy that everybody sees, but the reality is many decisions are in this gray lane in between. That was one component. I alluded to the frustrations with patients. That broke my heart, and I felt like I could use my energy and my voice in a different way, and so that was part of it. And then really the third thing, I've lost 3 colleagues to suicide, including one of my partners. And um,
Three of them, you're saying?
one when I was
Oh
a
my God.
resident, one was when I was in a medical leadership position, and unfortunately, one of my partners, and I didn't even know he struggled, which speaks to probably some of the legacy, training issues with medical school. Fortunately, I've heard a lot of that has improved, and I plan to dig into that. But those 3 things really were kind of weighing heavy on me, and I've always wanted to write a book, and I'm like, well, I feel like I know medicine pretty well, and I've got a lot of stories, and I'm kind of guy that won't shut up, so I probably should just go for it.
No, something you mentioned interesting in the, when you're writing book. In the beginning, you struggled, and then after that, it just flown. It flows. It went through just your system, and you started writing automatic. Everything. Tell us a little bit of that inner feeling of sorry that you went through. Actually, everything comes from pain, as you know. Detroit produced a lot of rappers. They come from a pain system. So that pain, it came out of the pain. That flow of writing. I went through the same thing, and I wrote a book during pandemic. And tell us a little bit of that experience of that flowing, that flow of writing.
Absolutely, yeah. Pain can be obviously a very big motivator for sure. And as I got further into the writing process, the first chapter I wrote was called Anatomy of Burnout, and that's about a third of the way into the book. And that was sort of just spilling my guts on my journey through that process. But as we got further and further along into it, it definitely became easier to write because you felt free. There was that catharsis of the process in and of itself. And by the end of it, Joshua, when he joined me, it was very cathartic for him too. And I probably should touch on this a little bit. The medicine that I had written for my co-author Joshua, who used to be one of my patients, devastated him. It created a complete mess for him. And ironically, it's the same drug I still take for my post-concussive headaches. So you get this yin and yang effect in the book. I don't know if everybody can see that little yin and yang capsule on the spine there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
where we weave his story. And by the end, we would laugh about this stuff because we had gotten it out there. We had taken that heavy sack off of our backs, and now we've become really good friends, and we look to take our energy and thoughts and enthusiasm and hopefully impart it to others so they can play their part to fix things or help fix things at least.
Yeah, Victoria, do you have any other questions for Doctor before
Yeah, I mean, your book, Ripple of Change, that's obviously the ripple of change you went through. I have not read the book, unfortunately, but I will get one. But now that you've gone through this, is there a plan to find the answer for that ripple for the next book? Do we have a
Yeah.
book two?
Yeah, well, that's been discussed. So there's a couple components to the ripple aspect, if you will, and I think you're very astute to pick up on how that ripple was healing for Joshua and I. But the reality is, our bigger version with the ripple is really to inspire everybody and empower others to create their own ripple that hopefully can coalesce into significant positive change. And Joshua writes in his writing, he offers so many tips and so many ideas for patients that they can utilize within their journeys to have a better outcome. So it's just loaded with thoughts and comments, and there's some humor in there. I used to write down jokes that patients would say in the office, and I'll reiterate one of them that's gotten to be pretty common. I used to ask 4 or 5-year-olds what their favorite vegetable was, and one of them replied sausage.
It could be a vegetable in his mind.
Exactly, right? And maybe it was a veggie sausage. I don't know, but at the time it was just hysterical. So yeah, we hope to inspire really a multitude of positive disruptors.
So, Doctor,
I can see almost, having, it would be interesting for you to do a book where you also brought in somebody from a hospital system, such as a CEO, and
yeah,
and delivered, you know, there's so many things in these silos between the GPOs telling you what you cannot have, CMS rules that sometimes I do feel that sometimes some of the CMS rules actually cause a lot of the abuse, and that they're not written well enough that they allow for fraud, and it's frustrating.
Dr. Todd, Dr. Otten. So you're the author of the book Ripple Change. So when I get back, I'm going to present about the big rip. I'm going to present a topic about big rip. I'm going to talk about that. And then after that, I come back and ask you what is the ripple change and how do you get it? What is the solution? It's a little bit asking more. Let me present the topic on a very mysterious uh, entity that in the presence in our lives, in the disease, in the health, everywhere it present. So that is a Dr. Todd Otten. He's a former U.S. Navy surgeon and the author of the Ripple Change. And Victoria Fishnick is just a co-author, co-host for me for a temporary. She joined from Atlanta. But let me present this. I'm going to bring all of you. We can in the bottom we can watch together, and you are free to join anytime and ask questions. This is the I'm going to talk about some Michigan one more time. There is in Michigan. There's a one thief was in Detroit area. Is a two-story. Believe me or not, he was stealing a lot of shoes. He was a big robbing a lot of shoe stores. The police it became a headache to the law enforcement police authorities. Is a there's a shoes that can be expensive. You can ask my daughter about that. Could be very expensive. So what there is a big problem. So what they did was one day in his system, what he did was they wanted to catch him, but he left. He was he tried to use couple of shoes, that to try to fit in. Whether the shoes that they left it didn't fit in for him, he left it there. So they sent it to the DNA lab. See that this guy is not a first time. He must be a repeat offender. He will find his DNA structure somewhere. So the DNA lab said that it's not possible to find it for him. It's because it is too small. The data is too small to really find any. The result is inconclusive. So what they did was they were so frustrated. This guy is keep on bothering and nagging them. So they got to do something. So they sent it to a lab called STR, Mix Empowering Forensics Science. It is based on a second law of thermodynamics. First law of thermodynamics is energy is neither created nor destroyed. That is the first law. Second law is I'm going to explain to you what second law is. That second law of thermodynamics says that they came up with the chaos-based system. They came back and then identified the robber. So they convicted him, they sentenced him, he complied. This was a computer conviction. But what I say is not a computer conviction, it's a bigger, the universal law, the law above even a US law. It is the second law of thermodynamics. It convicted him. That is unbreakable law. That is the one thing that he was convicted and sentenced actually. This is a true story. But what is that second law of thermodynamics? I'm going to play a video. I'm going to explain to you in this video a little bit. You can watch together.
Hello, my name is Ramana Annamaraju. I'm going to introduce you to one of the most enigmatic and elusive concepts in the entire field of science from my book, Science is Not a Subject, Science Must Be a Lifestyle. The concept is called entropy. I'm focusing on one aspect of entropy related to information and its connection with the present-day healthcare challenges. Entropy is like a ghost, but it is a mean one. You don't see it, you cannot talk to it, it never leaves you, it threatens your job, it tries to destroy your health, it affects your performance, it follows you wherever you go and whatever you do. You feel and see only its destruction. It is not your competitor you need to worry. You need to worry about this elusive ghost. It is your enemy number one. Please pay attention. It makes a difference in your career, in your job, and your duties. If you are a policymaker, you have to understand the impact of money and the economy of your citizens. If you are the CEO of a healthcare system, you have to be concerned about access and equity for all your members. And if you are a software engineer, you need to analyze simplicity versus complexity with your user experience design. As I mentioned before, entropy is your number one enemy. It is true what they say, know your enemy first, then you can come up with a strategy to deal with it. We need to start with the question how much you know and how much you don't know about a system you're working on. This is not some philosophical or a new age question. You have to quantify with the numbers. It is a scientific question to the core. The answer is not that easy. Fortunately, there was a guy smarter than all of us, gave a stunning insight. His name is Ludwig Boltzmann, an Austrian physicist, lived in the latter part of 1800s, came up with a statistical formula for known versus unknown. It is not just a formula, it is a law, second law of thermodynamics. In urban slang, we call it as a law of entropy. The law is not limited to known versus unknown, it is present everywhere, materials and processes and even life itself. Entropy is a true measure of your ignorance of a system. You may say, I don't know a lot of things, but I know what I know, and what I don't know, I don't know. This statement may seem right before you know about the law of entropy. The law of entropy says the unknown does not sit idle. It is constantly attacking your known systems. Entropy wants you to become ignorant and leaves you in constant confusion. It creates a chaos, your understanding of any system dwindling every day by law of entropy. Only way out is to fight it. Entropy is a tough concept to comprehend. I will do my best here with a simple example. You see a picture of a teacup with the 2 sugar cubes in the bottom and the top teacup is mixed with the sugar. Adding 2 cubes of sugar makes you happier, but your happiness does not come for free. I know sugar prices are going up. Still worse, the law of entropy says your ignorance is also going up. You have known knowledge that there are 2 sugar cubes. Since you know something makes the bottom cup low entropy state. Now, when you mix the sugar, you turn the simple system into a complex system. Even if I ask you, you cannot get sugar cubes back. Sugar is melted away and you lost all the information about the sugar cubes. The irreversibility of the process increases the state of entropy. In a split second, you made the top cup in a higher entropy state. Known system became an unknown. Just it applies to a teacup, this irreversibility is evident everywhere and everything you do. A simple realization that if you create a process for your company with some data variables, the complexity slowly seeps in. It means you lost control of your process and the information becomes chaotic. But if you keep tabs on what it takes to reverse the process to the initial state, it saves you time, money and energy. You are keeping the ghost of entropy at bay. Life itself is a low entropy system. Zoom in or zoom out, your cells to your entire body do hand-to-hand combat with the law of entropy to keep you healthy and alive. Your number one enemy is waiting at outskirts of your life and your company. Boltzmann revealed this book of knowledge and wisdom about the universe with his famous equation. He could not convince his peers about his theory. Later, Boltzmann committed suicide, and his famous formula was written on his tombstone. Devil also, like numbers. Chaos may be its nickname, but it is speaking the nature's language, that is mathematics. Cancer is cellular chaos. There is no diagnostic equipment can measure the exact progression, but with the entropy algorithms, you can extract patterns from seemingly chaotic information. One such algorithm came from an unrelated field, football. Yes, game of soccer. Soccer fanatics wanted to know who is going to win the World Cup that is being held every 4 years. The fans include a number of scientists. They created an algorithm called World Cup Optimization Algorithm. I don't know how much it is useful in predicting the World Cup winner, but it is helping to detect and predict the progression of cancer. They are testing with the cancer of melanoma and breast cancer. Boltzmann gave the formula for entropy, but a brilliant mathematician and engineer at the Bell Labs, which became AT&T now, gave a different twist to the concept of entropy. His name is Claude Elwood Shannon. The theory bears his name. It is called a Shannon entropy. According to Shannon, the information is central to all processes.
Did, which I think he's very widely known for, is this notion of a fundamental limit. No matter what you do, as long as you're working with a certain amount of bandwidth, and as long as you're dealing with signals that are only so strong in the face of noise that you confront, no matter what you do, you cannot transmit more than a certain rate.
Here is one remarkable example how you can employ Shannon entropy to healthcare equity and access. The world of medicine made a huge progress in diagnostics and treatments, but healthcare delivery systems are not. A significant number of people on the planet don't see those benefits. Health inequities you can witness in rural and urban America's landscape, and worse, everywhere else. Health delivery system is riddled with complexities. It may be partially political, but it is also filled with logistical complexities. Variants like remote geography, disease burden, and economic backgrounds, to name a few. Where there is a complexity, law of entropy shines. Shannon entropy is successfully utilized by countries like Iran, Turkey, and Greece to address the inequities in healthcare delivery by allocating and utilizing existing resources more efficiently. Truly a remarkable tribute to human mind how an obscure 18th century physicist from Austria and 21st century brilliant mathematician from MIT can help humanity by discovering the hidden laws of nature. Thank you for listening. You can read in my book further. Science is not a subject, science must be a lifestyle.
I don't know what happened to the Victoria. She's gone, but I hope she's coming back. So, but anyway, I'm going to finish up fast. Entropy is an evil, but it has a good side of it. Entropy deals with the aging process. It ages because of the entropy. It is a demons. It deals with the demons. I'm going to explain to you what that is. Death. It deals with the death, universe itself. And the entropy, I'm a Hindu. Hindus have 300,000 gods. Entropy has a god also for us. I'm going to explain to you that god. But I'm going to be done in a few minutes. And after that, I'm going to bring Dr. Todd Otten back. So entropy is even the entropy is like a mafia almost. They have an honor system, they follow a certain mathematics, they follow algorithms, order, disorder, order to go to disorder, but you can also bring the order from a short period of time, disorder to order, you can bring it. That is the entropy, you can make it a very short period of time. So this is the entropy, is a set entropy stethoscope, for example. If you use algorithm of entropy, because you know the math, precise math, and you can use a stethoscope, then you can do atrial fibrillation, you can detect cardiomyopathy, the heart failure, the thickening of valves, or the valve disease, potassium levels. You can detect with the 300 biomarkers what the Mayo Clinic is saying with the simple stethoscope. Can you believe that? This is an amazing. The entropy algorithm can do that. Entropy algorithm is actually now they're using without just looking at the phone. You can do all the signals: EEG, ECG, blood pressure, respiratory rate. All of them you can detect by looking at it, by looking at the phone itself, by using the changes of the temperature on the face, and they can detect a lot of things. So this entropy, as actually healthcare, you don't see that, but they're behind the scenes. Entropy algorithms work: EEG analysis, sleep studies, vital sign monitoring, anesthesia monitoring in ICUs. They're all use several algorithms, different types of flavors of entropy algorithms they use. Probably you don't know them, but they're behind the scenes algorithms. They really extract the data and do the real job. So name it: sample entropy, approximate entropy, multi-scale entropy. There's lots of them there. So what is the entropy in the software EMR? That's one of the epic systems. They always keep coming back and new versions, new things, whistles and buzzles, and they charge more and more. But what the software entropy, it's a Wikipedia, is a software entropy says that more you make versions there, The technical debt goes up, entropy goes up, ignorance of the system goes up. It's very dangerous. That system, that is a pressure that what we're seeing among physicians. The entropy is going higher in the EMR systems because they keep on adding aversions. Keep it simple. Because if we don't know how to go back to the original one system, the original system, that is a problem too for the CEOs of the hospitals. So not only physicians feel that technical debt, that software entropy is creating a chaos. That chaos is creating a lot of mental health problems that's directly related to the software entropy. The next one is so keep it original versions. Don't change versions that easier. That's what the final message is. Entropy. ChatGPT is no doctor. I tell you, they measure the entropy of LLM, large language models. Usually say I'm the Dr. Todd Button is Otten, author of, and then I left the blank. It's a ripple of change. That is automatic. That is a predictive value. That's what it does. The large language models predict the next sentence, next word. So it's between 0 and 1. So if I just say Todd Otten, then maybe a Todd Otten in Oklahoma, he may be doing something different. So that the value goes down. So most of the values are between 0 and 1, the predictive value, the actual value. But in certain situations, when it goes to 1.2, the entropy value, they measured actually entropy value of the ChatGPT. If it goes to more than 1.2, it goes crazy because the prediction has no meaning after that. The reason is there is a mathematical restriction on it. It's called irreducible computational complexity. Computer cannot compute anymore. It just gives up. That's no way. You cannot even predict. It's only until you go through the process, you don't know. It computes. It may be right or wrong. We don't know. So that is where 1.2 is the entropy level. It goes. ChatGPT can go crazy. So all the large language, it applies to the entropy, applies to all the large language models. So the Stephen Wolfram says that. So, but entropy can also, even though it's evil, it does the good things. It does the mathematics. We understand it very easily. So it's a newborn cry diagnostic systems because sounds of the cries of the baby, infant baby, you can detect ODS, respiratory distress syndrome, which is that infants, premature babies need oxygen. So you can listen, you can diagnose the problem with a cry, listening the cries. The sounds of cries, machine learning language can hear that and change that process. Hyperthyroidism, the most important is autism spectrum. The cries you can detect autism spectrum from the entropy algorithm. Sepsis is also one of the causes of death. Sepsis you can recognize from the cries itself. Crying newborn cry diagnostics uses entropy algorithms. So these are all, entropy is a therapy. It is surprising thing recently they found out is interesting. I want to tell you this is how the entropy is suggesting therapy. This is a very interesting. Entropy is saying that if you have a life, entropy has actually sucker. Entropy is the main. It marches order to disorder. That's it. It is basically it eats everything on the way. But it is what is the entropy's main purpose? Dissipate energy, heat energy to the environment from a non-equilibrium to equilibrium state. It wants to make all the temperature equal around the universe. That's why it keeps on going, marching towards that. Entropy created, some people argue, entropy created life. We are the suckers for the entropy because we can distribute the heat more efficiently. So if you wanted to live longer, if you wanted to get the entropy to be your friend, that is one of the physical health is recommending this sauna, hot saunas, because you're basically you're taking what is entropy is you take high energy oxygen and the food, you take high energy and then stools and urine or the low energy things you do. That's what exactly entropy wants. Entropy wants to dissipate the energy and a different way through your mechanism. You're the sucker. you're the vehicle to distribute the heat. So what it does is physical health. It is recommending sauna, entropy. On the mental side, very interesting. If you are reading all the things, so many things you read, so all the information you take it, that is the entropy. Chaos is huge. Entropy is very high. So what it is, so it want to take the entropy maximum. So the best way to do that is you have to extract the meaning of the entropy. Sorry, the memory. All the memories you consolidate, and then what it does is one way to dissipate the energy is watching the mountains or sceneries, because the reason is the computational process of the brain. Every time you do computation, you release the heat. I will explain to you how that happens. It releases the heat, so you're satisfying the entropy. So that's why it's a very interesting. Entropy recently suggesting that these two aspects could help. That's why even Dr. Bill Fish, senator, was suggesting all the hospitals should open up a natural thing, a garden next to the hospital. That's one of the reasons. It's a mental health. It is a very powerful entropy for the human beings. You're dissipating the heat through the process. That's what the entropy engine does. So the next one is well, I wanted to ask you, but there is what is entropy? Entropy is a destruction, is the unrelenting march towards the end of the universe. That's called heat death. I don't know, maybe people from Michigan wrote that, but it's actually cold death. There is no cold, it's all cold. It's nothing but extreme cold. It does. So that is entropy pushes all the planets and everything to the heat death. That is its goal. You cannot stop it. That's it. Unrelenting march. Once in a while you can do better, a little bit here and there, but every time you do better, it adds up the death, and it keeps on marching towards the end of the universe. That's how you want to finish off everything. But there is a guy. He thought that a clever guy thought about this. He said that his name is James Maxwell. He created a electromagnetic wave, mathematical structure he gave. What he did was, I was thinking about a demon. He created it's called a Maxwell demon. What he did was, Maxwell demon, a box. There is a box there. In that box, there is a gas. In that gas, they move around the gas, right? There's a lot of the gas some of the particles move faster, some of the particles move slower. So you put the demon there, and then he said that whenever the slow particle comes there, put on the left side, and when the fast moving particle move to the right side. So the demon open the door. When the fast moving particle, it puts to the right, and in the left side it puts the cold particles. So what James Maxwell said, that think about, I don't need entropy cannot touch me. I can cook on the right side B. I got hot food. I can cook it, and I can refrigerate food in the left side with the cold atoms. I don't need entropy. He said. Entropy said, hell no. Entropy said, you're something. The demon is also works for me. The demon has to remember the storage. You have to remember which one is moving faster or slower. So when you using a memory, you are using the energy, you are dissipating energy. It is actually, they gave an actual limit for the energy. It's a Landau limit. It's called 0.0175 electron volts. So it's not free. Devil is also paying the price to the entropy. Entropy keeps marching. So entropy is the super god. The devil is nothing to them. So they're all working. Even the demons working for the entropy god. So Hindus, that what is entropy god? So what is the entropy of lost humans? We are all the entropy also is going to destroy everything. Slowly the earth is going to disappear. Our planets are going to disappear. Sun is going to disappear. The only thing in the last days is black holes will be left. In the black holes also, they disappear eventually. But in the last days of the black hole, humans can, if they're smart enough, they can stay around the black hole in the circle of the black hole at the event horizon. they can draw the energy and can live there. But it is also temporary. At the edge of the black hole, you can live. Humans can survive. But there is a problem there, because as the march is never-ending march, entropy is marching towards the end of the universe. So the lost humans, they have to sleep. They have to go. Every thought, as I said to you, that even the demon, when he thinks about it, it releases energy. So you have to go a meditation, or you have to go hibernation for 364 days. One day only they allow you to wake up, only one day a year. So because the moment you spend the energy, thought itself is the energy spending. You're spending the energy. When you do that, that means you're inching towards the death of the universe. But you cannot stop that. Eventually, everything will be dead. So entropy takes the entropy god is in Hindu religion. Lord Shiva does a cosmic dance and destroys the universe at the end. He takes over it and finished up. That's what I told you. Entropy god is the Lord Shiva in Hindu religion. That is what does a cosmic dance and finish up this process, and then you become a end of that's the end. But there are other suggestions. There's a cyclic universe. Then again, Brahma comes and rebirth. There is a lot of, actually in physics also, there's a proposals that there is a rebirth of the universe. But that's the end of the universe. Entropy takes from beginning of the universe to the end of the universe. That's present everywhere around us, all the times. That is the entropy. Entropy, we have to use it. We have to master them. We have to understand it. Then we can do better. Thank you for listening. Let me bring a Dr. Thank you for listening. Let me bring Dr. Todd Otten back and ask him. So, Dr. Otten, what do you think? Entropy.
I was hoping you weren't going to quiz me on that, is what I was hoping. It was fascinating, actually. I when you talk about entropy, there's a lot of parallels to our healthcare system in terms of the exist. And some would argue that blowing it up and destroying it and starting over is kind of what we needed. So I mean, you could take entropy in a lot of different directions in the context of healthcare. I think including some of the health inequities that exist and how they could be compared to entropy. So you've got my brain going in like a million directions right now.